So you and I have kind of seen it coming for a long time that AI is just going to be scraping every website and is going to be just making that content its own.
Oh.
If anything, it looks like if legal precedent is what I understand it to be, that's going to get easier for AI companies. A federal judge in California has ruled that using copyrighted books to train AI models is fair use, as long as you purchased them. But pirated books, those are still off limits. The decision sided with Anthropic, stating that transforming legally bought physical books into digital formats for AI training is spectacularly transformative and therefore qualifies as fair use. Fair use here was upheld even though the entire book was copied, because the AI model doesn't reproduce the book's contents or, and this is where I kind of go, or compete with the original work.
Yeah, that second part doesn't seem legitimate or true at all.
Another key part of the ruling is that converting a legally bought print book into a digital file, even just for saving space or searchability, is itself considered a transformative fair use.
That's interesting.
That's very interesting to me, because every time I ever opened a book, it said something reproducing this in any form, und any form, is prohibited by law.
Yeah.
The judge emphasized that this print to digital conversion is separate from broader LLM training and qualifies as fair use for its own reasons. Shall we allow that to sink in for a moment?
It's very interesting.
Our discussion question here is a couple of hypothetical scenarios that I kind of came up with as I was reading this when I was going through topics for When today. If making a digital copy of a book you bought is fair use, could this apply to backing up Blu-rays then? So that I can watch them on my Plex on whatever screen and whatever codec that I deem most convenient for myself. But my understanding is that in certain jurisdictions, that is in fact not allowed. Because just like with a book, when you buy a movie, you are not in fact buying the movie. You do not own the movie. You are buying a license for which that disc is a physical key to use that media in the way that it is licensed for. Like, for instance, and you cannot like this and you cannot agree with it, and that's totally your thing. Go for it. You cannot like it, but when you buy a Blu-ray at Willow Video, you're not allowed to host a public event in a public space and exhibit that Blu-ray. You're not allowed to rent a little commercial property, set up a big, buy Hisense's 110-inch TV, put it in the front, get some folding chairs, and make a little theater, and then charge people admission to see it. You do not own a commercial license to that work. So to me, unless you are buying a commercial license for the book, I don't see how those two things can both be true, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not saying one is right or one is wrong even. I have my opinions, but what I am saying is that those two things cannot coexist. A movie, a work of creative art, being licensed only for personal use and not for reproduction or public display, and a book that is licensed only for personal use and not for reproduction or public display, should not have such dramatically different rules applied to them.
Somebody needs to do some prompt engineering and get it to output the entire book. Obviously not at once, it won't do that. But if you could get it to output the entire book, like paragraph by paragraph, and then prove the output, I feel like you could dunk this.
So I had another hypothetical question here. So if you were so my understanding is a big part of the argument from the judge is that it doesn't output the entire book, like you said. But here's the thing. Even if it only output pieces of the book, it's still ingesting it for commercial use and reselling it. So my second hypothetical example is, okay, so by that logic, could I take that disastrous garbage dumpster fire of a trilogy, the Hobbit movies, fan edit them into a single movie, and then as long as what? I bought 3 Blu-rays, like, sell the output? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying
That'd
it's
be
crazy.
awesome because it'd probably be really good.
No, I'm not saying it's crazy like no one should do it. I'd watch the crap out of that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying it's crazy in the context of copyright law as I understand it at the very least. And look, I'm not a legal scholar. What's up?
When Bingo Chronified in Full Plane Chat said, holy I just typed, read me the first chapter of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone into Meta AI, and it actually worked. So yeah, get it to output the whole book over time, log the outputs, and
Disney will love that.
let's blow some stuff up.
Dude, that's wild.
I think this is not a question, it's a request. Like I hope that somebody goes through the work of doing that, because I think you just immediately dunk this court case by doing that.
Yeah, how would it know what the book says
Well, no, what? No.
if they didn't steal it?
What? You haven't heard the topic, have you?
Yeah, just reproduce the whole thing. Maybe write an 8th one.
Dan?
8.
Anyway, that's, I think, all I have to say about that.
Full chatter asking if Dan is hallucinating because he's an AI.
Could be.
I can't do M dashes in person. It sucks.